What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. This is my 2021 Toyota Supra. And today we'll be installing a intake. The intake is from a company called MST. You guys probably heard of them. Pretty much really straightforward. Let's pop the hood. As you can see, I took my engine cover off just because it's not really needed. I am running a JB4 on this car, catalyst downpipe. The JB4 is actually stored right over here. It's tucked away right there, as you can see. So right now I'm running a custom map from this guy called Jesse DeBears. People who are in the Supra community, you guys probably heard of him. Pretty much it's you send him logs and he goes ahead and sends you updated logs for you to input the information into your car. Right now I'm running E30 on the car with a catalyst downpipe. Car should be making anywhere between 4 to 450 on that, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the stock intake. This is a 21 model, so you do have this brace that we do have to remove. So let's go ahead and get that. Alright, so we have the flathead. You could use a socket. I think this is a 6mm. Just like using a flathead though, because it's a little bit easier. So pretty much you want to go ahead and undo this. And what this does, it holds down your intake, obviously. And that's done. Go ahead and pull this guy out. Put that aside. Alright, now, what you do, pull back this. This goes to your turbo. For those that don't know, this out the way, move this. And you can pretty much just go ahead and pull this up. Just be careful. I'm running my JB4, so you don't want to damage any wires in that process. I'll move this top part first. So this is the stock airbox. This is sort of like a silencer. So by removing this, we should get a lot more turbo noises. And who doesn't love turbo noises? But yeah, you hear the turbo with this very slightly. It's not too, you don't hear anything pretty much if you're not catless. For the OEM downpipe, I didn't hear anything, but once I went catalyst, I heard it from the downpipe. But now we should also hear it from up here. So let's get this put aside. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is that this is the mass airflow sensor. Do not damage this. We will be moving this over to the new intake. Now we go ahead and grab the bottom portion. Just want to slightly pull it up. There's a little bit of tension. That's one. So this is the stock airbox. So as you can see, it's pretty. All the air goes from the front into here. So that is the turbo. This is a 6-port car, so the turbo does have 4 additional ports compared to a 2020. Which obviously these cars, the main benefit after that is that they shine up top rather than being cut off like the 2 ports do. But here's the stock intake. It is fully out. Let's go ahead and get the MST intake that I purchased. So this is the intake. I did purchase it pre-owned just because I got it for a really good deal. This is the cone filter. And then everything else is inside that I need. So let's go ahead and get this guy installed. So this replaces this piece right here. Well, this actually goes to the cone filter, but you're going to be moving over your mass airflow sensor from the OEM one to the aftermarket one. And you do get some hardware supply, so you can use this. Just be careful not to over tighten it because you will crack your mass airflow sensor and you do not want that. Alright, so there is one clamp that we do have to sort of break off, if you may. Now that clamp is right over here. So once the air intake is removed, the OEM one, that clamp is right there. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. But pretty much this has to get broken off. Now the best way to do it is taking a tinier flathead and breaking this off, and then once this is removed, we'll go from there. So this is the tool of choice that we will be using to break the seal off. So we'll go ahead and if you want, you can bend this down a little bit. Don't make sure you don't damage it. But you sort of just want to go ahead and get this to break off. Now these cannot be reused to my understanding. Now once you do break these off for whatever reason, let's say if you want to go ahead and put back your OEM intake, you will need to go and buy one from your dealership. That being said, I don't think I'll be using the OEM one anytime soon, so let's go ahead and get this off. So we did get this broken off. Unfortunately, that is the only way to remove it. For you purists out there, don't get upset. You can purchase them. I'm pretty sure they're like 10 bucks. But the design flaw in this is that once you use it, that's it. It sort of like latches on, but once it latches off, you cannot reuse these. So if you do want to use the OEM one, just purchase another one from your dealership. But with that being said, this should just remove right off. So this is part of the problem in this design, I guess you could say. All these ripples, number one, it's messing with the airflow, and then you have another silencer right on top which quiets down the whooshiness of your turbo. So let's go ahead and get the replacement on. Okay. Now, the aftermarket one from MST, as you can see, really smooth on the inside. Nothing's really messed up on all. So, let's go ahead and get this guy on there. Now that the stock clamp is off, we're going to be installing the MST one. Now, you could use a screwdriver, but I like to go with a 8mm socket just because it makes life a lot easier with an extension. So you don't want to tighten it all the way because obviously the other part will be going on top. But just get it snug on there so at least it doesn't move around. Now you do want to make sure it is fully on there and flush before you start tightening, else you will be having issues down the line. So now that's on there, the next step is to move over the OEM air temp valve over to the aftermarket one. The MST one does come supplied with new bolts, so please use these, not the OEM ones, else you will run into issues. So that's how you drop your drill bit. Well, not your drill bit, but go ahead and remove the OEM air temp valve. Fell off. Remove it by hand? Yes, we can. This one's off, and this one's off. So you want to be super careful with this guy, because if you fuck this up, you will be screwed. So let's go ahead and move this over to the aftermarket one. Now, what I would recommend is to put back the OEM bolts. That way, if you ever need to use the air temp, you have them ready to go. And I do not want to lose these bolts because they look like they'll be a pain to find. Alright, so we got the air temp sensor on there, nice and snug. Tightened it, but don't tighten it too much, else you will strip it. I just hand tightened it with literally my hands because we didn't have the tool. So there's that. Now the next step to this process is we'll put this guy to the side. Underneath here, there is a bolt, which we do have to remove. Alright, so the next step is there is a bolt underneath here. Obviously you can't, you can lift out this whole piece, but just for time purposes, you don't need to be fully loose on this, just enough so you could slide something underneath. Alright, so you do need this rubber grommet right here. This is from the OEM one. Just go ahead and slide this guy in there. There we go. And then once that's aligned, it does come with a bolt that you feed through. And just want to tighten that down. So Ryan came in clutch, cameraman for today. My hands are too big, so he went ahead and got the bottom portion of the intake done for me. And now, I'm gonna button this up. So the next step would be to install this, and I'll finish that off once he is done. We pretty much go ahead and get this guy on there. Alright, so we got the intake installed. Next step is to put back the air temp sensor, or the mass airflow sensor, whatever you guys want to call it. That's back in place. Just keep in mind not to over tighten these two bolts, because you will strip them, because it is plastic and metal. So that is the last thing you guys want to do. Next step is to tighten the clamps that connect to back up. Move this extension. It is an 8mm. Yeah, no, that's not happening. Let me go ahead and remove. All right, so we got the cone filter on there. Ryan's tighten it up for me. I started to record. This is Ryan. That is his 20th anniversary over there. I don't know if Kevin catches it. This guy got a fully built motor just sitting in the garage. He used to buy sneakers instead of finishing the project. But I'll tighten these down real quick because I loosened those up. No, you're gonna have to use. Yeah. Alright guys, so intake's on there. This top, I guess, piece, you could say, was a little bit hard to put on considering the whole harness is right next to it. But we had to push it in a little bit. And in the process, I did lose 2 of the washers, so I can't put this bolt in. So I gotta go get some washers and get that installed. Last piece of the puzzle, getting the strut brace back on here. So pretty much just goes right on top. No clearance issues for those who are wondering. Which way was it? There we go. Alright guys, exhaust is warm. Car is running behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and hear the intake. Alright, so I guess this car is so sensitive. When I started it back up, it doesn't want to rev, so we gotta go take it around the block. So, exhaust, obviously, it's what we do. Thanks for tuning in.